Welcome to this month's theme, which is overwhelm. And I know I'm smiling, but I also know how awful this is to feel. And I also know how this is such a common thing that we all face. And of course, there's different times throughout the year that we feel it more. But I think what can be so helpful is to know that there are often some underlying causes that add to overwhelm. So when we think it's our busy schedule or the kids' activities or work and home life, those things can actually fall into place when we address some of these underlying issues. So the first one is an underlying cause of overwhelm can be that we are allowing too much information in that does not help us and that we cannot be a part of a solution for. So, this can be situation, information about people, and even certain people in general, that when we're around them, we feel this barrage of heaviness or gossip or just really heavy emotions, and they're not looking for a solution. So, this is actually can lead into boundaries, but starting with understanding how do being around certain people, how does that leave me feeling? And it's not that we shut them out of our life, but we can decide if we are feeling overwhelmed to limit those types of interactions. We can also be getting so much information from the news or maybe even social media accounts that leave you feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, heavy, sad, frustrated, or angry. So, becoming aware of what information is coming in that's adding to our overwhelm is key. And actually, it can even be good information. There are times when I'm tempted to put on another podcast or listen to another chapter in my audiobook. And I should say, self improvement audiobook. And there are times where I'm aware this could be good information, but I need quiet. I need to go on a walk and have silence. I need to take a bath or have lunch, whatever you're doing, drive in the car and just have silence. So become aware of when you are just overwhelmed with people and information that is adding to the overwhelm. The second area is really practical. Sometimes there's something we're avoiding, and it can be a doctor's appointment that we need to schedule, an oil change, meeting with a teacher, having a conversation with a friend or sibling or some other relationship in our life. So they can be really practical things, and they occupy our mental real estate until they're addressed. And sometimes we just feel like there's all this stuff swimming around in our head. We feel overwhelmed. And yet, when we stop and we make that one appointment, a lot of it settles down. So just ask yourself, is there something that I need to do that I'm avoiding? The third underlying cause is a bit of a larger topic, but it is so huge. And it is the culprit for a lot of the overwhelm that we feel. So when we do not process emotions, they physically lodge in our body, and over time, they can lead to physical symptoms. So, the other part of not processing emotions is it's like stuffing a beach ball underwater. And we all know how that ends, and we don't win. So, our emotions, these can be things from our childhood, events that happened that were hurtful that we've never really processed and really looked at. They can be hurts in relationships that we don't feel like we're ever going to reconcile that with them, and that's fine. But we do need to acknowledge why we were hurt and what meaning we took away from that situation about ourselves or about life. These can be emotions from a week ago, they can be from 40 years ago. So These emotions, they don't go away, and they get louder and louder through our life. They're like a small child. When you ignore them, they don't just decide to walk away. No, they get louder and louder until you acknowledge them. And that's how our emotions are. So I can say from personal experience, I started to get more and more overwhelmed just in general. But as soon as I started really doing inner work and healing memories, working on my anxiety, doing work around my identity, that overwhelm went away because it was actually the underlying cause of emotions that needed to be addressed. And when we put that off, the downside is that unknowingly, like that beach ball, they will eventually come out, but they're not coming out with clarity saying, hey, I'm pain from my 5-year-old memory that needs to be addressed. No, it comes out in the form of anger, frustration, sadness, depression, anxiety, some of these really challenging emotions. And oftentimes it spills over to our loved ones. So, this isn't to put any guilt on you. This is to encourage you that the most beautiful thing you can do is to look at those things. And I'll make a separate video on how to process pain, how to process through emotions, how to identify what emotions need to be processed. So that will be a separate video, but this is just something to ask yourself. Use this as a cheat sheet. When you're feeling overwhelmed, ask yourself, am I allowing too much information, good, bad, or difficult, into my mind? Am I avoiding a task or something that I can just check off my to-do list? And then am I avoiding processing emotions? So the fourth thing is very practical again, and I will do a separate, I'll have a PDF of just different ideas for you. And this is sometimes we are just lacking structures, schedules, planning, procedures in our life. And if you are a human being in our world right now, most likely you are being pulled in so many different directions. You might be working and a household manager and a parent and in relationships with other people and volunteering at the school or church or neighborhood committee. So we've kind of normalized a high level of areas that we are pulled into, and that can be fine. But again, learning the awareness of, is everything necessary in my life, or am I guilting myself to being a part of these things because I don't want to let other people down? So first, identify if there are some areas that you can simplify. And then secondly, are there just processes that you can put into place? For me, one of the most helpful things I did, because I felt overwhelmed with working and keeping up on my home and feeding my family, they keep getting hungry, was implementing a block schedule. So I give myself 1 hour a day for a household chore. That way, through the week, I'm touching each part of the house and it doesn't feel like something gets to an overwhelming place like laundry. So that has been so helpful for me. And then I scheduled a grocery shopping day. I scheduled a day that I make videos. I have days set aside that I do coaching. So implementing something like that, and then spending time on a weekend to meal plan, to make your grocery list. It may be for you hiring an organizer or deciding if you can hire a house cleaner. So it could be getting a really great calendar that really meets your needs, and you can put things on there like, the oil change, getting the pets to their grooming appointments, the doctor appointments. There are so many practical things that Sometimes we're just kind of swimming in all that life is. And it can really reduce the overwhelm when we just put some processes in place. So, again, I will have a PDF just with some ideas, things to maybe jog an idea that would really problem solve and calm down the amount of jumbled to dos in your head. So, look for the next video. Go ahead and dive into the worksheets, and then I'll look forward to discussing this in the group.